niggers here think that we've come after them and are flocking to us every day to go off with Massa Lincoln. But of course, we do not permit them to harbor around at all.
Free blacks became, as well as slaves, a problem, especially the slaves, because some of the Union generals spent a lot of time returning them to the plantations, trying to force them to continue to produce the sugar cane and produce the crops that was necessary.
Federal refugee camps for the runaways were crowded and unsanitary. Those who did not succumb to disease or hunger were often forced to work in conditions little different from the slavery they had left behind.
The North argued and believed that the Republic could not survive if the losers of an election seceded. And the North talked about preserving the Union. President Lincoln had not wanted to make it a war to end slavery because he didn't think he could maintain the support of Northerners for the war if he did that. There were 4 border states that were slave states that stayed in the Union. Lincoln felt like he could not push to end slavery and keep those in the Union.
But much had changed since the start of the conflict. Union generals knew that without slavery, the Confederacy would crumble. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass continued to push for their cause. So with the stroke of his pen, Abraham Lincoln redefined the meaning of the Civil War. No longer was it a struggle over states' rights or safeguarding the Union. Now, it was a fight to end slavery. Liberty for most slaves became law on New Year's Day, 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation went into effect.
Emancipation meant a new birth. Emancipation meant to the blacks a new beginning. To whites, it meant a loss of vast resource and economic investment.
To Lincoln, it meant a shrewd strategic move.
When the Union troops entered a plantation or the region of the plantation south, there was mass exodus of blacks from the plantation. They took mules, utensils. They tried to cripple the war efforts from the Confederate point of view. So they added, as Lincoln said, a kind of another dimension and a secret weapon or a way to hit at the heart of the South.
We was in the road playing, and the man got close. Then he said, "I come from your friend, Abraham Lincoln."
And he said, "Go on your way, 'cause you're free and can do as you please, now and forever and forever."
The Emancipation Proclamation did not free all slaves, however. It only applied to territories in rebellion. Ironically, the only place where slavery remained legal now was in the Union and the lands it occupied. During the federal occupation of New Orleans, all blacks, free and slave alike, were forced to carry passes when moving about the city.
We were never slaves until the Union Army came here.
But if some free people of color felt they'd been better off in the Old South, others began to look forward to the end of the war someday and the promise of a new, reconstructed Louisiana.
The New Orleans, the Union, as well as the New Orleans Tribune, were published by free blacks, and it emboldened the black community to demand political rights, social rights, economic rights.
On October 24, 1862, L'Union reported on a parade of black Native Guard soldiers at the racetrack 4 miles outside of New Orleans. The writer noted their good discipline and their skills in the use of arms. This was not news. The real story here was that these black soldiers now wore a new uniform. The Native Guard had switched their allegiance to the Union Army. General Butler had made them a persuasive offer. These Louisiana Native Guards were the first officially sanctioned African Americans to be sworn into the United States Army. Before the war's end, Louisiana would supply 24,000 black troops to the Union, more than any other state. Virtually all the black officers in the U.S. Army were Louisianians. However, they found themselves no more welcome in the Union ranks than they had been among the Confederates.
The truth is, none of our soldiers seems to like the idea of arming the Negroes. Our boys say this is a white man's war, and the Negro has no business in it.
Nevertheless, Native Guard units based at Ship Island and other locations continued to train, anxiously awaiting the day when they could prove themselves on the battlefield. They would not have long to wait.